Testimony from Barnes Marshall, March 20th, 2025.
All right. Good evening. Hey, can y'all see the screen? I'm going to show some pictures. There might be a funny one or two in there. Try to make you laugh. Not everything I'm going to say is going to make you laugh. I'm going to start off by this. This verse came to me a little over a year ago, and it's kind of been a theme for me, like for the past, at least the past year, probably the past 14 or 15 months. So this is 2 Corinthians 5. 18 to 21. So it says, and God has given us this task of reconciling people to him. For God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, no longer counting people's sins against them. And he gave us this wonderful message of reconciliation. So we are Christ's ambassadors. God is making his appeal through us. We speak for Christ when we plead, come back to God, or how about come to God? For God made Christ who never sinned to be the offering of our sin so that we could be made right with God through Christ. So I read that. You know how it just falls out of the sky into your lap and there it is. I don't know. I can't explain it. I mean, I can't explain it, but that's just how it happens, right? And then this past week with, if you're doing the study group, or the week before, we had to meditate on a verse or really intensively think about a verse or two. And that was mine because that one's been like, in yellow highlight flashing for a while. And the message of that is reconciliation. It's our job. We're tasked with bringing people to Christ, right? And how do we do that? And for me, that answer was clearly, we do that through love. We do that through the kind of love that, not our love, but through his love, which is in direct contrast to somebody standing on a street corner with a megaphone telling you're going to hell, right? I don't know if that works. I don't think that works. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work. It wouldn't work on me. But I tell you what would work, what would soften my heart is love. So this story is going to be testimony, part testimony. Mr. Gaines asked me to talk about my business. If any of you are interested in enterprise architecture, using reliability patterns, using messaging for zero message loss, you can come up to me afterwards and I'll talk to you about that. If you're interested in the rest of it, that's what I'm going to talk about. So go ahead. So I'm going to start where probably you don't know I was. But about 13 years ago, I was fully broken. And that's when I came back to Christ. So I was fully broken. I lost everything. I lost absolutely everything. And I had nowhere else to go. So I went to my knees for the first time in years. And that was a turning point in my life because it started my journey back to Christ, in that moment. And I felt peace when peace made no sense because everything's burning down around me, right? So how do you feel peace when you're on fire? Everything's burning, only him. So what happened was I needed to start over. I needed a rebirth. I needed to start over. I moved to Florida. And how did I move to Florida? Well, I tried to move other places. I thought New Orleans would be a great place for me to go. None of that. So my will did not work out. When I finally got on my knees again and turned it over, the doors just started flinging open. And it led me right here, Clearwater, Florida, to a $1 billion healthcare company called Lincare. You wouldn't know them unless you're old or need oxygen, but they're in Clearwater, headquartered in Clearwater of all places, and their data centers on the first floor. Ask me about that later. So here's the deal. I got a job that I was highly overqualified for, kind of on purpose. I didn't tell them what my real credentials were. I was so overqualified for this job, it took one eye, one finger, and I was done. You know what I mean? But I needed that at the time, and God knew I needed it. I was at that healthcare company, right? This is a weird journey. It's not probably what you're thinking. It's not what I was thinking, and I probably would have chosen a different story if I could have. But I had the CIO, right? And she was like, "We've got the largest project we've ever done. It's going to be with Microsoft. I'm putting you in charge." I said, "No, you're not. You're crazy. Yeah, I'm not qualified for that. I'm not the right person for that thing. I don't. And she wouldn't hear it. I had no choice. Like, she forced me to do it. And so it put me in charge of. Microsoft has this thing. All right, you got a tablet. You're delivering stuff to a home. It's called Field Service Mobility (FSM). It's a technology. It was the largest project Microsoft had ever done, and I was in charge on the healthcare side. And we use all these new technologies I brought in because we were old school. They had a mainframe and all this junk. So I brought in all this new technology, and so it was such a success that the Microsoft team on the Microsoft side, they all won awards. They all won awards for the project. So the regional vice president of Microsoft at that time now does my business development, by the way. And that CIO that put me in that position later became my employee. And then she went on to another company, and now she's my client. Anyway, it just comes full circle. And then, so let's see.
You have the power.
So in 2014, I said, enough's enough. I need to publicly profess my faith here. So that's me at Grace Family Church in Lutz getting baptized with a little girl. There were a bunch that day. They were running them through two at a time. So that's me there. Get this, that life verse I read to you, right? So I had two people in the past 3 weeks try to get a job with me by using AI and to basically tell them the right answers. So I figured, well, if they can do that, I can at least throw it and get it to generate a PowerPoint. So this is all AI generated. So if some of the headlines look a little strange to you, I probably didn't write it and I probably didn't edit it enough. But it put this verse in there, 2 Corinthians 5:17, the one right before my verse. This means anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life's gone. A new life's begun. I don't know, man. I just shake my head these days on this kind of stuff, I was in that healthcare company. We got a new CIO. Has anybody ever had a boss who leads by bullying and intimidation? We got one of those, right? First time I got called into his office, I got a shakedown. The other girl was just broken down in tears in there, and he talked to me like I've never been talked like that before. And I just looked at him like, I don't know who you are, but I will not be working for you anymore. So in that moment, I made a decision that I was going to do a career change. And I don't do anything, I don't react. I like to plan. So I think, and then I execute, right? Not always, but in this moment I did. I had a moment of clarity, so decided to change. I started making preparations, so I got a couple of certifications. I started ramping up my efforts on some of this new technology. And I joined a software consulting company so I could get more exposure. And then at that time, I was working for a software consulting company, but I still wasn't satisfied. That was a stepping stone. So I wanted to be my own boss. In college, I had been an entrepreneur. I had a business. I left that to go into a family business. I regret it. Here was my opportunity again. So here's the thing. So I'm working for this consulting company. And I'm like, I want to go out on my own, right? And I get a call one day from a recruiter that I've been talking to for a long time. And, whatever. And he's like, I got a job. I got an opportunity for you. Do you want it? And I'm like, who's it for? He said, Ahold Delhaize. It's a $100 billion global grocery company and logistics company. Again, I was thinking, y'all are crazy. I've really got y'all fools here. But I was like, man, I was restless because I had all these financial fears. And they were unfounded. I used to keep 2 cars as a single man, 2 cars just because I was scared one might break down. It makes no sense logically. Like I was, anyway. So I had all these financial fears. So I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm leaving a steady paycheck You know, I'm leaving a steady paycheck. That's a drug, by the way. It can be. So what did I do? I got on my knees again, right? Got on my knees. God, what am I supposed to do? You know, I'm scared to death. This is the opportunity, but should I do it or not? I stood up, and I kid you not, my phone rang within 30 seconds from somebody that I didn't know, telling me that my name had popped on their prayer request list to call and check in on me. And so I just boo-hooed, and I told him everything that had just, you know, I was trying to make this big decision, and he prayed with me. He was like, well, I think you got your decision, right? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I got it. I'm doing it. I called and I said, I'm doing it. Let's do this. This is all God working. If you hear any part of this story about Barnes did this, I'm saying it incorrectly, okay? I did none of this. He did it all. So my little company, you know, I was there. I was like, you know, doing my own thing. I was a single operator, sole single operator. Tough spot to be. It's better than where I was, but tough spot to be. And so I met this other guy, Christian guy, did the same thing I did, and we were like, we're going to be better together than we would be apart. Let's go conquer the world, right? And so I formed a partnership. Ask me about partnerships later. He took a back seat, and I was doing all the work. And this was tough. I talked to my pastor for a year about this. He heard me talk to him about 3 times about this, and my wife heard it once a week for sure, listening to me. Here's the thing. My pastor's advice never changed. My wife's advice never changed. I just never, you know, I was scared. I was like, why can't... So here's the thing. I had this other opportunity. You know, that guy that with Microsoft. So he now called me out of the blue and says, I've got this massive opportunity for you. Do you want it? Well, I'm sitting here thinking about ending my partnership. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if we get this, then I can't break up with my partner, because now I'm going to have to be paying all this, you know, income to him this whole time. Like, it was going to mess everything up. So it's like, I either turn the company over to him, like he either takes it or I take it. But we can't be together. You know, he's a fine person, but we can't be in business together. Again, lots of prayer about it. Talked to my pastor again. He said, you're mulling this over because you care. I said, I do care. And anyway, I got confidence. I said, I got to end this. And I ended it with him, and I bought him out. And 1 week after I bought him out, we won the contract, the Lord's contract. And so that, anyway, I did not write Divine Resolution. The AI wrote it, but that's I wrote notes and had it do it. So anyway, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord provides. Yes, He does. Right. I've got about 25 consultants, depending on the time of day. Maybe not quite 100% client retention, but probably 90. I don't know if it's 4x. It's probably a lot more than 4x. But anyway. God has provided and continues to provide. Key lessons from my journey. So trust God's plan. It's always better than yours, right? And embrace the challenges. You come out better on the end. The mentors, the people in your lives, man. The good ones, the bad ones. They can all contribute. And embrace grace, because God can turn brokenness into purpose. This is my team. This is some of my team in India over here. I'm going to show you some pictures. I'm going to talk about India for a moment. That's me in the center. Yes, I'm a bit skinnier at that point. I'm working on that. That guy right there, Lakshman Naratarian, Hindu. In fact, every one of these are Hindu. I think he's agnostic. All the rest are Hindu. Okay? So my friend Lakshman, I'm on a video call with him, and if you don't have any interactions with Indian people, I'll give you a quick lesson, right? When they're intensely talking to you, they bob their head. So he said, Barnes, I would like to invite you to come to India. And so I was watching his body language. I knew he was serious. I'm thinking, how can I get out of this? I am not going to India. You know, I got to find a good excuse, because they're big on... They don't like to be offended. They're big on respect. Not so much the moral high ground, but they're big on respect. And So I talked to my wife. I was like, man, he wants me to come to India. And she's like, let's go. I have always wanted to go to India. And I'm like, what? No, I need you to say you don't want to go and we'll together collectively get. Anyway, so now we're going to India. About a month before I go, right, I get this message on my heart saying, I thought the message was telling me I need to bring people to Christ. I knew it was doing God's work. It was very strong. It was very intense. Um, there's no doubting it. And so I was at a wedding. I was at a wedding about a month. This is all like a month before I go. I was at a wedding, and somebody brings up this couple from out of town, never seen them before in my life, introduces them to me, and they want to know how it might work out with their daughter marrying an Orthodox man, because my wife is Orthodox. She's Egyptian Coptic Egyptian Coptic Orthodox, and we made it work. So that conversation lasted for 1 minute until he said, "And we do all this work in India." And I was like, "Missionary work." I'm like, "Tell me more. What are you talking about? I'm going there." So he starts telling me all the stuff he does. That's a whole other story in and of itself. Not my story, somebody else's story. It's a beautiful story. I'd love to share some of that with you sometime. But here it is. I get this confirmation. He said, "You know what? Where are you going?" I said, "Well, Lakshman lives in Chennai, India, which is in the southeast quadrant." And he said, "That's where we do some of our work. And that's also where this man Joshua lives, this Christian businessman I'm connecting you with." So before I went over there, I knew a Christian businessman in Chennai, which, by the way, I'll get to that in just a minute. But less than 2% of people in India are Christian. So just the sheer statistics or probability of that happening, and y'all can work that out. So I was talking to one more friend. I'm like, "I'm going to India." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Chennai." He said, "That's where I was born." Does anybody know Tilly Duffy? He goes to our church. He goes to Harborside. You know Tilly? So Tilly was born in Saudi Arabia, actually, but they are second generation Christian, and his name is Tilly Duffy. It's not an Indian name, because the Scottish missionary that went to India that saved his family's last name was Duthie. And the wheel wagon fell off, and a little kid came up and helped him. That was his grandfather. And the guy took him under his wing to be a missionary and took him to school, fed him, housed him, and the whole family from second generation down is now Christian. In addition, he said, while you're there, you need to go to Bangalore, the next big city over, and you need to go to Garism, the orphanage, the children's orphanage that my great aunt and great uncle started for mentally disabled and physically disabled children. You should go there. I'm like, you see the path kind of lighting up? And so I said, "You know what? Yeah, I'm not saying no. I know God's at work. I don't know what the mission is. I don't know. I can see this far in front." I said, I'm not saying no to anything. Chennai also happens to be the place where St. Thomas was martyred. He did missionary work in India. This is the statue outside the hillside where he was martyred, or they think he was martyred. That's y'all know what that is, right? Thomas checking Jesus' wounds. Make sure it's him. This is a depiction of how he was martyred. That's his tomb. Actually, down under, there's a glass viewing area down under, and I can't validate this, but it's pretty well established that is where he was martyred. This is Garism. These are some pictures of Garism. So we flew over to Bangalore, and I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton because I wanted to stay somewhere safe, right? So Barnes just stays at the Ritz-Carlton, plus his wife likes it. We go to this orphanage, and I'm thinking, I was kind of feeling guilty. I shouldn't have stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. I should have stayed at the Motel 6 or Indian 6, and I could have given more money to these people. It hit me hard. Anyway, they did a whole welcome thing, dance for us. This mentally challenged girl wanted to try on my sunglasses. These two girls came up to me. I got some video. I don't know if it'll play over here. Anyway, the little thing around my neck is they came up and presented it to me, doing a dance and put it around our neck. This orphanage I don't know if that'll play or not. These are some of the disabled, mentally and disabled children. There were 125 children there at that time. 25 were normal children. They were there because their parents had been martyred in northern India 1 month before. It happens today, and it's not on the news because it's government sanctioned. The government keeps it quiet because the government's Hindu and the government's in the northern part of the country. This actually happens today. It really does. I guess I won't play this for you, but those children are praising Jesus. This is a Christian orphanage. Some of them can only say one word. Do you want to guess what that word is?
Jesus.
Jesus. This is another video. I guess it won't play, but they were doing a whole dance for me. I was wanting to kind of get you a feel of what it was like. But let me just say, it was life-changing. Oh, they were singing Happy Birthday. I pulled the wrong video. Sorry. You get a sense, right? They put my wife and I in the center, and they're dancing to us. Like, that's not awkward at all. Like, I didn't know. Like, it was beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. This is one of 5 centers that they have. They house boys, girls. Their goal. So these children. I missed an important part. You know where these children come from? The trash can. Literally. They're throwaways. Hindu, extreme poverty. I don't know, I can't explain, but I'm just telling you the situation. Hindu, extreme poverty, throw them away. They're broken, they're discarded, they can't work for the family, they can't earn money for the family. They're going to be a liability. Get rid of them. Most of those kids were found in trash cans and just abandoned. So that's where they come from. This is a map of India. Chennai is in the bottom quadrant down here. That's where I spent most of my time. Bangalore is in the center down here. What is showing here in the red, less than 1% is Christian. So government northern part. There are anti-conversion laws there. You will be put in jail and tortured if you try to convert from Hindu. You try to convert to Christianity, you'll probably be executed. The orange is less than 5%. The green is more than 5%. And to give you an idea, that's 6%. So it barely made the cut. That says 18. I'd challenge that. I don't know. We've got some little sections over there, but the whole country's Hindu, like 2%, right? The primary languages over there. You see how many languages are over there? Each state has its own language. You know what the common language is? Anybody want to guess? English. My wife went shopping for silks, and she was there so freaking long. They came up to me. They're like sharks. They came up to me and they're like, "Try this jacket on. Try this." I said, "Give me the hat." So anyway, that's how that ended. This is Lakshman's daughter, Kuma. We were invited to go to her temple to watch her do a dance. That's their false god. You'll notice that it's behind bars. You know why it's behind bars? Because they'll steal it. I debated whether to show you another picture. I decided not to because I think it's demonic. We were tricked into going we knew we would have to go to certain temples, tourist. There are temples that are dead temples. They don't actively worship, but they're architecturally old and all this junk. We knew out of just respect for some of my employees, I would be put in some of that situation, but we were tricked into going one and felt the most evil presence I've ever felt in my life. This was total ambush. By the driver of the Ritz-Carlton that picked us up in the airport in Bangalore, said, "We need to stop by this temple. You must." He insisted. We're like, "Okay, fine." And we started walking up to it, and there is a black bull, probably half the size of this house, with a ring through its nose and all these ornate, and somebody in there dipping some water. And we felt the presence of Satan. let me tell you, and I've never felt that feeling before, that strong. That was unreal. I'm not going to show it because it's demonic. But Como is coming to the U.S. in August. We're going to go watch her dance again. Understand, like, seeing a picture of me in a Hindu temple, that might be a bit disturbing. I mean, I had on the armor of God. I was there, out of respect for some of my teammates. We prayed a lot about it prior to. No regrets there. This is the Christian businessman that was set up in Chennai. All this stuff happened like Chennai. Out of the entire country, it could have happened anywhere. I don't know how many cities there are, but there's a bunch. This could have happened random places, right? I got a connection in the northern. You should meet. It all happened where I was going. You know? We're still in touch. We went to church, Christian church, with he and his wife in Chennai. It's an amazing experience. Just absolutely amazing. Those are two randos that had never seen a white man before, so they wanted a picture. I just threw that one in there. They loved it. That's my team. Lakshman, there's Sri Banu, there's Big Nesh, these are some of my main. There's Shruti, there's Shandan. Some of these other guys, anyway. But those are employees of mine over there. That's the Ritz-Carlton driver that we spent the entire day at the orphanage. He went to sleep in his car. So, whatever. What is that? Oh, there's the kids at the orphanage. Do y'all get a sense of like what they're like?
Yep.
Good. She and her husband, Erida, started the orphanage. It's a God story in itself. I don't have enough time to tell you the God stories about that whole thing. That is a God story in and of itself. I mean, I could tell you the story about they completely ran out of food for the children, didn't have not a grain of rice, nothing on a Saturday. They were out. No money, no provisions. They took them all in the big room. They fasted and they prayed. That afternoon, an angel walked up and dropped off a big bag of rice, randomly, out of the blue. So God provided, right? To this day, every Saturday, they fast half the day in the big room in remembrance of that time. That's Mr. Ponraj. He runs the operation. He was a member of the UN. He did some stuff with the UN. He's highly educated. Love interacting with him. That's my wife and I. That's it. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Instead of talking to you about enterprise architectural patterns and software design, I thought I would tell you about what God has done in my business. So that's a story of complete brokenness to some level of massive redemption and grace that he has bestowed upon me to this day. And I'm in awe, and I give him all the glory. Thank you very much.